And now, here's Dialogue, a podcast with Gene Richard from Kbze 105.9 FM. Today's show is being sponsored by...
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you're testing your blood sugar 4 more times per day, injecting insulin 3 or more times per day, or using an insulin pump, call the Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare, you can get a new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you are testing your blood sugar 4 more times per day and injecting insulin 3 or more times per day, or using an insulin pump, call now and learn how to receive your new continuous glucose monitor at little or no out-of-pocket cost.
AJ Doman Chevrolet is your one-stop shop for all your new, used, and medium-duty Chevrolet needs. The 23s are arriving daily, and now's your chance to save on all remaining inventory. Buy with confidence with lifetime warranties on all used cars at no additional charge.
Tired of being told no? We say yes at AJ Doman Chevrolet at the foot of the Morgan City Bridge in Berwick.
AJ Doman Chevrolet, the dealership that works for you.
Lifetime warranties excluded on certain units.
And good morning, viewers, and welcome to Gene Richard's Dialogue this morning. I feel like I'm back home.
Yeah, you are.
I feel like I'm back home. Hadn't been here in a while. We're at the home of the Edie White Fighting Cardinals, and of course we're talking to none other than head coach Kyle Lasseigne of the Edie White Cardinals, and pretty doggone deep in the playoffs. Headed to St. Thomas More this weekend for the semifinals, right? Semifinals, and then hopefully up onto the finals after that. But as I said, with us is Kyle Lasseigne, head coach of the Cardinals. And coach, I gotta, let's just walk through the playoffs. Everybody knows a 10-1 season, and then of course headed into the playoffs. Started off with a bye, and then big team. I thought was a big team from Shreveport. Am I right? In Evangel Christian.
Correct.
And gave you fits up until the last 15 seconds, and you take it from there.
Yeah. First of all, it was a great regular season. Probably the most difficult schedule we've ever had here at Edie White. We had 3 5A teams on the schedule. We had 3 4A teams, and I think it really prepared us for the playoffs. So looking back, as scary as that schedule was, I think it really got us ready for the playoffs. Went 9-1 in regular season, and was good enough for the 4th seed in the playoffs. We really thought maybe we could move up a little bit last week, but we didn't. So we're sitting here at 4. The top 8 seeds get a bye, so we obviously got one of those. And then we played the 13 seed, who was Evangel. They destroyed Estruma the first week. So we got them in the second round of the playoffs. And when I first put that tape on, the athletes that they had was just tremendous. It was the best group of athletes that I had seen. They played a killer schedule, and that's probably why they were 6-4 coming into the playoffs, and why they were a 13 seed. But I told several people since that game, I don't want to play those guys in the near future, because they're getting back to the old Evangel that they were a few years back. Had a great quarterback, great receiver, and huge defensive line. Really, really good defensive line. And they really gave us fits. They gave us fits offensively. We had to play well in other areas to make this happen. And, it came down to the very end. The end of the game was kind of weird, because they were down deep in our territory, had a good kicker, and probably just could have run the clock out, kicked the field goal. They decided to throw it. They got a couple holding calls, backed them up. And backed them up so far that I thought, they can't kick the field goal anymore. Let's stop the clock with a timeout, even though it's 50 seconds, and let's pray that they're going to kick it to our punt returner, Matt Melanson, who's been dynamite all year long. And that's what happened. That's what I don't know if the kid miskicked it, whatever, kicked it right to Matt. We set up a wall, returned it down to about the 35, and at that point, I'm thinking we got a shot. We're gonna set it up for a field goal. Now, in that area, our kicker Ty Powell probably he's made that in practice. You know, you're looking at about a 50-yard field goal. But I told Grant, I said, look, let's just run the football. Let's set it up where he wants it. He wanted it in the middle of the field, so we actually ran 3 run plays and picked up about 17 yards right there. So put us on about the 18, and we needed every one of those yards, because if you saw the video of that field goal at the end of the game, just barely made it over the crossbar and beat Evangel. So big win for us. Looking back, one of the best teams that we played all season. But I go back to the regular season. I think the regular season prepared us for those kinds of moments, and got tremendous confidence in what we're doing. I had confidence that Ty can make that kick, and if you got confidence in it, let's set it up and try to make it happen. So that's what happened against Evangel in the first round, actually second round for us.
And then we come to, of course, the third round with John F. Kennedy. And I never heard of him. So I looked him up and I started reading. And, of course, they're out of New Orleans East, I think. And big team. Big team. And I'm like, oh, my God, here we go again. Started off, the game was, I thought, close, way up into the third quarter. That team was not going away. It wasn't going down. A little loosely played at times, but as I said, good team, big team. Take us through that one, especially the fourth quarter. Interesting.
Yeah, unlike Evangel, don't know a lot about JF Kennedy. I mean, you just don't. They haven't been in our bracket. First of all, this is the first year they get put into our bracket as a select school because they're a charter school and they draw from outside of their zone and that kind of thing. And so that's why they're with us to begin with. Just not a common opponent, and hadn't heard a lot about them. But their head coach, Coach Elfage, played in New Orleans in high school, played at Tulane, I think is in their Hall of Fame at Tulane. Really good player, had a shot in the NFL. So he's building something special there, because they had some really good-looking kids. And their schedule wasn't a great schedule. So it was hard to gauge how good they really were coming into the game. But you're right. You're sitting there mid-third quarter, and it's 28-20. And with their ability that they had shown all game long to score points, that's just one score away. And, you're a little bit nervous. And I think after that we kind of took over. But again, huge defensive line. And that gives us some problems sometimes offensively. And then their skill guys can really run. Quarterback threw the ball exactly where, I'll go back to Evangel. We had never seen that quarterback at Evangel play like he did the night he played us, and that receiver. We had never seen this guy from John F. Kennedy play like this. I mean, he was a good player. They had good receivers, but he was never that accurate throughout the season. So we got their best effort and came out on top and gave us the opportunity to move on to the semis.
Well, I tell you, it's been exciting, and of course, I've been watching them. And your nemesis coming up, St. Thomas More coming up this weekend, this Friday. They're going to be playing in Lafayette, and St. Thomas well. Tell us a little bit. Good school. Tell us a little bit about them.
Yeah, historic program. Yes. Historic program. I think the thing about them is they look like us. They look like us. They look like our athletes. No one jumps out at you. From athletic standpoint, maybe, but just really well coached. Do things the right way. Do not make mistakes. They don't kill themselves. Very, very efficient on offense. Probably more balanced than anybody that we've seen. They're going to run the football if you let them run it. They're going to throw it if they have to. So the balance is a thing that's impressive on film offensively, and then defensively just really well coached in the right places all the time. Unlike John F. Kennedy, familiar though. We have tape on them from last year that, we played their game. I don't think there's any secret. They're going to do what they do. We're going to do what we do, and may the best man win. So I think that's the way high school programs have to be. You have to have an identity. They know what our identity is. We know what theirs is. In the team that's prepared the best and goes out and plays, makes the fewer mistakes, is the team that comes out on top. And I like that kind of high school football because it shows your kids that if you do things the right way for a long enough period, you gain that identity. People identify you as that, but that identity also wins football games, and that's I take huge pride in that. And made comments last year after the state championship about who we play with and the kids that we have here on campus, and that's who we do it with. So I'm proud of the fact that that's our identity, and St. Thomas More has that same identity.
Emeril Lagasse here, and I'm so excited to tell you about my French Door Air Fryer 360. Extra large 26-quart capacity. Cook with up to 70% less calories from fat than deep frying. That's a big deal, my friend. 360 degrees of superheated air gives you fast, even cooking. My 10-in-1 French Door Air Fryer 360 grills, air fries, dehydrates, roasts, bakes, broils, proofs, slow cooks, and toasts. This baby does it all. These French doors are a game changer. Look at how easy that is.
Now find out how you can try Emeril Lagasse's French Door Air Fryer 360 with 3 cooking tiers, fetch tool, air frying rack, and drip tray in your home for 30 days for just $14.99. Order now and you'll also get Emeril's Air Fryer Favorites recipe book. And we'll automatically upgrade you to our bonus cooking kit free. Plus, find out how you can get free shipping. This offer will not last, so call or click now to order.
You're gonna love it. I guarantee it.
And I think it's going to be a great game. I got it. And now that we talked about the games, viewers, let's move on a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about Coach Kyle. I've been watching him on the sidelines throughout the playoffs and somewhat, mostly during the regular season. Do you ever get excited? I watch the opposing coaches. I mean, their arms up, they're flailing, they're fussing they're doing all kind of things with their players, and there you are, walking back and forth on the sidelines, giving. Anything rouse you?
Some referee calls kind of get me excited sometimes. Gene, I'll be honest with you. In this second tenure, I told myself, I made a pledge to myself that I was not going to be the same as I was before. And one of the things that I think, the reason that I coach the way that I do on Friday is because I want my coaches to coach. I don't want Coach Grant to feel like I'm breathing down his neck about calling plays. I don't want to be involved in defense. So Coach Chris Bergeron runs that side of the ball, and I want my guys to coach their side of the football the way that they see fit. Where I'm really, maybe input things is at practice and maybe in the game plan. But after the game plan is set, I want those guys to coach because I'm not going to be around forever. Somebody's going to have to take this over. Those guys are going to be head coaches at some point, and I want them to feel the same way that I feel right now. Let the staff do the coaching, and for the most part, that happens, and it allows me to just influence the kids, talk to kids, maybe get kids out of a valley that they need to really get out, and that having that ability on our staff allows me to do those things. Now, Friday night when it gets competitive, I'm just as nervous as I ever have been. But again, I want to stay away from the action and only input when I have to. And mainly it has to do with game decisions and maybe, calls and what we're going to do at certain points in the game. But from a calling standpoint, calling plays, calling defenses, I try to stay out of that.
Injury-wise, how do you stand going into St. Thomas?
Glad to say that we're probably as healthy as we've been. Yeah. Getting some guys back. Our offensive line basically takes Monday and Tuesday off. It's like a professional contract where coach has to give me off Monday and Tuesday, but it's been really needed because those kids get banged up on Friday, have been banged up and have played through it, but need time to recover. So we have a skeleton crew out there offensively on Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday, today they'll come back. They'll get back into it. Thursday, get really back into it. And then other than Jake Sternfels, who's obviously out for the year with an ACL, pretty much at full speed. So, if we're going to win it with all our guys, Friday is going to be the night.
Let me ask you this. In we talked about this early on in the playoffs. Those young men work hard for you. The whole team plays. It looks like they play hard, and I think I can say this. I don't think Edie White will ever beat itself.
I hope not.
Fundamentally sound football team. Very few turnovers. You know what to expect. You know they're going to play hard. You know the defensive line and the offensive line is going to cooperate. They're going to come right at you. And it's nothing real fancy, but they play so hard, Coach. How do you get them to do that?
I thought a lot about that. I think there's two things that have happened. First of all, kids have worked really, really hard and saw success. And this is the third year in a row we're in the semifinals at least. Last year in the finals. So when that happens, it just becomes an expectation. Like, this is the minimum that I have to do as a player to be able to get to these spots. If you never reach those spots, then the kids don't know, and maybe they don't trust that process. I think they trust the process. That's first thing. So they believe that what we do really, really is worthwhile. The second thing, I think I actually did this on Friday. When things were kind of getting out of hand, I called a timeout in the fourth quarter, got all the guys together and said, listen, we're going to play next week. We're going to play next week. We need everybody on deck. We can't have anybody do anything stupid. And I call that adversity. Our kids have handled adversity really, really well. You know, I don't know many teams that could have dealt with the number of injuries that we had and still had success. That is just dealing with adversity. What does that mean? That means like an Owen Thibodeau, who's our backup fullback and doesn't get a lot of reps, when it's his opportunity, steps in, and he doesn't mope, he doesn't pout, he doesn't complain, he doesn't make comments. He supports the guy who starts in front of him and takes advantages of the opportunities that he has. That's adversity for him, but he's handled it so well. And you can say that across the board. Guys that don't handle adversity in our program don't last. They go away. They go away. That's a great point to be in a program, because you don't want those guys. You don't want those guys that don't handle adversity. So I think that's the key. I think it's those two things.
You know, you're building something, and you're right. This is the third year. Top of the level all of the time. Let's go back 1 minute before we shut this thing down. How many kids in your football program from 8th through 12th?
Yeah, well, I think.
I know you don't know exactly.
Yeah, I think it's about 150. Varsity from 9th to 12th was 110, and 8th grade had about 40. Good problem to have. Great problem to have. And once the freshmen finish this season, I give them the option of going or staying, and a ton of them just stayed around, knowing that I'll never get on the field this year, but I just want to enjoy the ride. So very, very proud of those numbers. Those numbers are very impressive if you compare that to a lot of places around here. So I think it's just something kids want to be a part of, and they realize that they're going to have to work really hard to stay in it and deal with adversity, as we talked about. But great place to be. Great kids, great environment, great support, and I'm enjoying it.
Well, I can tell you love your job. Yeah. No question about it. Viewers, we're talking to Kyle Lasseigne, of course, head coach of the Edie White Fighting Cardinals, playing Wednesday, day after tomorrow, Friday night at St. Thomas More in Lafayette. Coach Kyle Lasseigne, thanks for being with us. As always, good talking to you. Awesome. You bet. Viewers, thank you for watching, as always. Brought to you by Kbze out of Morgan City, 105.9 FM. Hey, have a great day, and we'll see you next week here on Gene Richard's Dialogue. Hey everybody, your old friend is back, and I'm keeping up with technology. Hello, friends. It's Gene Richard, inviting you to join me for Dialogue, a video and audio podcast presented by Kbze 105.9 FM. Look for the podcast on my Facebook page, on the Kbze YouTube page, and on the Thibodeau Now Facebook page. The audio podcast will be available on these social media apps, Podbean and TuneIn. Stay up to date with Thibodeau News on Dialogue, the podcast. We're going to change it up once a week and hopefully more as it grows in viewer and listenership.